All right, so we got a new drone, a little bit different than normal, but we're gonna go ahead, take it up for a fly, see how it does. Let's go. Hey guys, so we got a new drone for you today. Looks a little bit different. You can see it's got this kind of interesting shape, a lot different than the stuff we're used to seeing, but it's called the Bwine F7 drone. Now you can see it's different in that it has the 3-axis gimbal with a big gimbal kind of hanging below here, a big camera hanging below with these interesting arms here. Now it does have some pretty good specs. It has a 4K video and pics, 3-axis gimbal, 25-minute battery life, brushless motors, level 6 wind resistance, GPS, and it says it has a 1.86 mile range. Now it does also tout that it has a high sensitivity so that it can be used at night. One thing I'm not sure about is, yes, this says it is 4K, but it is 4K 15 frames per second. Now it's only 15 frames per second. My guess is that's gonna look a little choppy, but you can be the judge, see if it's different. So let's just go ahead, get this started, see how it goes. All right, so first things first, we always wanna power on the drone here, get that started up. Then we're gonna power on the remote. Then we're gonna go ahead and hook up the app. There is no bottom sensors from what I can tell. There's some things that kind of look like an ultrasonic sensor, but with all this stuff in the bottom, I'm not sure that's true. We'll see when we land, if it actually comes down and senses the ground and takes off from there. We'll see if that's true, but it doesn't look like there's any sensors on the bottom. And the remote says connecting on it. Now it says it can take up to about 40 seconds. It's telling us to rotate horizontal, so we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll do us our normal 3 times here like we do. Okay, and it's saying doing vertical, so let's go ahead and do the vertical. And that's beeped as well. Now with these also, you always want to make sure you do the gyro if they give you the option to do the gyro to make sure that it's solid. The gyro on this one is up and out on both the sticks, so we're going to go ahead and do that and hold it. And it said gyro was calibrated, so we're good there. So now the arm, we're going to do down and in, just like a lot of the drones. I can see that the camera did level itself, so it looks like we're in good shape. It does have some of the functions, of course. It does have like an orbit and a follow me, and we'll test some of those as well. And we'll test some of the distance as well, at least as far as the line of sight will take us. Let's go ahead and take off. Wow, not bad. Gotta say, not bad at all, really. It's really sitting here solid. Actually does look really nice, I gotta say. All right, so let's go ahead, take it up, get a little round here and see what it does, just a normal fly here. So you have to tell me what this video looks like. If you can see that choppiness from that 15 frames per second or not. Looks like it flies real nice though. It's a really nice flyer. Hopefully that video looks good. Let's go ahead and try that zoom that's over here, see what it does. I'm assuming that zoom is going to be digital, so it's probably going to be a little fuzzy perhaps, but indeed the zoom does work there. So if I'm zooming in, looks like I can see myself here, looks good. Let's go ahead and zoom back out. There we go. All right, and I noticed there's also a speed button here on the remote, and I'm going to go ahead and click that and see what the speed looks like, because the speed I was in now was nice, but we'll see if it goes a little faster. All right, and it went 3 beeps, which I believe is speed 3, so we're going to go ahead and spin this away from me here. All right, see what happens here. Well, I tell you what, that is really speedy. That thing is really moving. It does look really stable on here. The gimbal does look really nice on the screen here. Hopefully the resolution looks as good when I pull up the recording, because boy, it does look really nice. I can see this out here pretty good, and boy, I don't have any breakup whatsoever. It's very clean. Very, very clean here. Okay, so I did it's out here, and boy, I just had line of sight of it here, and It was just a speck and it's really hard to see. I'm kind of losing it, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it around. But it's out here, 1,500 feet, so it's really clear though. I have no dropout of the signal yet whatsoever. So it looks pretty decent. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it around and head back. But it looks like I have really good control of it yet and everything. So no problems there. Nice, nice. Go and bring it towards us here. Boy, that thing is screaming though. The speed is pretty darn good. I gotta say, the speed is pretty hot. No doubt about that. All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and do a couple of the smart functions here and see how this goes. Well, we just hit a low battery, so I'm gonna go ahead and let it come home, see what this return to home does by itself here. Taking a little long to come down there. Wow, but that's pretty good, actually. It's about a foot or so off the pad, so it's not bad at all. Now, it did come down and hover right off the ground, so it almost seems like it must have some optical flow or some ultrasonics or something, because otherwise it would have come down and bounced off the ground. So it looks like we did have some sensors. So I'm going to go ahead and change this battery then and go ahead and do a couple of the smart functions, see how that goes. Go ahead and take it up here. I'll take a couple pictures here, see what those look like. Let's go ahead and do an orbit. All right, so let's see what happens here. We just hit the orbit and it took off away here, and it should turn around. There we go. And again, we'll see what that 15 frames per second looks like with that orbit, if it really makes a difference or not here, because the orbit is looking real clean. All right, so let's go ahead and do a follow me. We're gonna do a GPS follow me here. You can see it's straight above me. Let's see what it does with that. Real nice job keeping me in here, actually. Hope you don't lose my sound, but no, it's doing a real nice job keeping me in the image. Go back here towards the vehicle. There we go. Now it does have one odd thing here that I'm noticing, and that I'm just trying to do a real slow kind of pan, and it does go real nice and slow. It does kind of go slow, but when I let it go, even if I let it go slow, it snaps back. So that's kind of undesirable if you're doing some nice pan into a shot, and then it's going to go ahead and do a jerky movement on the way back. So I'm not exactly sure why it does that, but you'll notice here I'm going to go nice and slow, and I'm going to let go. Nice slow pan. And I'm just going to go ahead and go and let go. You can see it jerked back. So I'm not exactly sure why it's doing that, but that's not really very desirable for a nice cinematic move. So now that we're out a little ways, let's go ahead and do our last return to home. Make sure that I don't catch the top of that tree. A bunch of traffic and stuff, so I want to kind of be out of the way a little bit. But no, it looks like it's going to be okay. Not bad. Not bad. So this is actually about 3 feet off from the pad here for our last return to home. So it is pretty windy. So I have to give it that, because the wind indeed was pushing it sideways. It was pitching on the way down. So, all right, so let's go ahead, head back to the studio, and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, so we're back in the studio after taking the Bwine F7 out for a fly. So did a pretty good job, but before we talk about that, let's just give you an overview of what comes in the case here, and then we'll give you my final thoughts on the function. Now, first of all, it does come in a real nice fitted case for it. It is a drop-in from the top, has a nice shoulder strap on the top of it, so it is really well protected. So in the box itself, we've got not only the drone and the remote, but we've got 2 batteries and we've got a box with extra props, along with a quick start manual and a full manual. So let's talk a little bit about the function. Now first, it does state that it has a 4K resolution. Now that's true, I did check the 4K, but remember it was 4K 15 instead of a 4K 24 or 30, something like that. So I was wondering if that 15 was going to give us any jitter or things like that. And I think it probably did. I'll put a little bit of video up here so you can be the judge when we're displaying it. But it did seem, of course, if we were trying to move it all, that it did kind of give us a little bit of a choppy feel. So the 4K video itself looked maybe a little bit creamy. It didn't look bad. It was kind of sharper on the edges, but it looked like they did some manipulation maybe to the pixels to get that 4K, because it looks a little bit like, the best analogy I can think of is if you use Photoshop and you apply an oil painting effect to it. It's still crisp, but it kind of sharpens the edges, but in the middle it kind of interpolates between some pixels. Now again, that's only my impression. Again, I'll make sure I put that video up here so you guys can make your own decision on it. So I think there's some manipulation going on in the pixels there that don't make it bad, but they just kind of catches my attention a little bit. Now the battery life, I did not get the 25-minute battery life. It was quite a bit shorter. Now there was a little bit of a wind, and I'll put that battery life that I did get up here. But it was significantly shorter, and I tried that with a couple batteries just to make sure. Now it does tout the level 6 wind resistance, and I think it did a really good job, which brings me to the kind of controllability of the drone. I think it was stable as could be. No matter what I did, whether I was doing any of the automated functions or if I was flying it manually, it was really snappy. It did a nice job, and it controlled really well. That lends me to my next point as far as the distance. It has a 1.86 mile distance. Now, I didn't take it out quite that far, but I took it out to the edge of line of sight. The video was still real solid coming into the device. There was no chopping or cutout or anything at all. And I did a return to home from a distance, and it went up and came all the way back. There was no problems at all. In addition to the controllability, the GPS itself, I think, did a really good job. I had no toilet bowling, no odd things that I could attribute to the GPS just being weak. It never fell off or anything like that. It did take just a little bit longer to connect the remote to the drone than normal, but once it connected, it seemed to be really solid. The specs do say that it has an increased low light sensitivity. So for that reason, I did take it out at dusk and took a little video across the horizon just so I could see what it did. And it wasn't too bad. Again, I think we saw some of the side effects, one being the jitter kind of in the image if I was moving. And I tried to move really slow, and that showed another kind of problem that I think they need to take care of. And that is if I was trying to pan really slow, just get a real nice kind of cinematic position across the horizon, when I would let go of the stick, it would snap back to the original position, almost like it thought it was drifting or something. So overall, I think the drone did a really good job. It was fun to fly. It controlled really well, but I think there's just a few things that they need to look at. If they were to address those, I think they'd be right on with the price point. That being said, I'll make sure that I put the price up here so you can take a look at that. And of course, I'll put the links in the description so you can go ahead and view the specs and see if it's something that's up your alley. All right, so that's all I have for the Bwine F7. Of course, if you learned anything new or learned something you didn't know before, appreciate it if you click that like. Till next time and next video, good flying.